Single moms struggling as a waitress cries after Neymar's generous tip. The early morning light crept through the thin curtains of Lily's small apartment, illuminating the cluttered kitchen counter piled high with unopened bills, school permission slips, and a half-empty bag of groceries she hadn't had the energy to put away the night before. The faint hum of the refrigerator filled the otherwise quiet room as Lily stood there, her hands gripping the edge of the counter, her head bowed in exhaustion. She had just finished making breakfast for her 8-year-old son, Ethan, and the smell of slightly burnt toast lingered in the air. In the living room, Ethan sat cross-legged on the worn-out carpet, happily munching on his toast while scribbling in his coloring book. His laughter occasionally broke the silence as he talked to himself, narrating a grand adventure his drawings were illustrating. Lily glanced over at him, her tired eyes softening at the sight of his innocent joy. It was moments like these that reminded her why she kept pushing forward, even when it felt like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. "Mom, look!" Ethan called out, holding up his drawing of a superhero in a bright red cape. "He's saving the whole city. Isn't he awesome?" Lily forced a smile and nodded, walking over to kneel beside him. "He's amazing, sweetheart. Just like you." Ethan beamed at her praise, his toothy grin lighting up his face. "One day, I'm going to be a superhero too. I'll save you, Mom. You'll never have to worry about anything ever again." Lily felt her throat tighten as she hugged him tightly. "You already do, Ethan. Every single day." She pulled back and ruffled his hair. "Now, go get dressed for school, or we're going to be late." Ethan dashed off to his room, leaving Lily to gather herself. She inhaled deeply, brushing away the tears that threatened to spill. There wasn't time to fall apart, not today, not ever. She had to stay strong for Ethan. As she prepared his lunch and packed his backpack, Lily's mind raced with the endless list of things she needed to do. The rent was overdue again, the utilities were threatening to shut off, and her hours at the diner had been cut recently, leaving her scrambling to make ends meet. She had started skipping meals to stretch their groceries further, and even then, it wasn't enough. Once Ethan was ready, they left the apartment, walking hand in hand through the busy streets. The city buzzed with life, but Lily felt disconnected from it all, her focus solely on getting Ethan to school and making it to her shift on time. "Bye, Mom," Ethan called out as he ran toward the school gates, his backpack bouncing with each step. "Have a great day, sweetheart," Lily replied, waving until he disappeared into the crowd of children. She turned and made her way to the diner, her steps heavy with fatigue. The familiar jingle of the bell above the door greeted her as she walked in, the scent of coffee and frying bacon enveloping her like an old, worn-out coat. "Morning, Lily," called out her co-worker Karen, who was already busy setting tables. "Ready for another day of glamour and excitement?" Lily let out a weak laugh, tying her apron around her waist. "Absolutely. Let's bring on the chaos." The diner was already filling up with its usual mix of regulars and new faces. Lily moved through the motions of taking orders, refilling coffee cups, and delivering plates of food with practiced efficiency. Her feet ached in her worn-out shoes, and her back throbbed from the long hours, but she didn't let it show. At one point, a customer waved her over impatiently, snapping his fingers to get her attention. "Excuse me, miss. I've been waiting forever for my food. Do you think you could hurry it up?" "I'm sorry for the wait," Lily said, keeping her tone polite even though her patience was wearing thin. "I'll check on your order right away." As she walked back to the kitchen, Karen caught her eye and gave her a sympathetic smile. "Don't let them get to you," Karen whispered. "Some people just like to make everyone else miserable." Lily nodded but didn't reply. She was used to this kind of treatment, it came with the territory. The lunch rush was in full swing when Lily noticed a man walk into the diner. He was dressed casually in a simple hoodie and jeans, his baseball cap pulled low over his face. He took a seat in the corner booth, away from the crowd, and scanned the menu quietly. There was something familiar about him, but Lily couldn't quite place it. She approached his table with her notepad in hand. "Hi there. Welcome to the diner. Can I get you something to drink while you decide on your order?" The man looked up and smiled politely. "Just water, please." Lily nodded and jotted it down. "Sure thing. Do you need a few more minutes with the menu?" "Yes, please," he replied, his voice calm and unassuming. As she walked away to fetch his water, Karen sidled up to her, her eyes wide with excitement. "Do you know who that is?" she hissed. Lily frowned. "No. Should I?" "That's Neymar," Karen whispered, practically bouncing on her toes. "You know, the soccer star? One of the best players in the world." Lily blinked, glancing back at the man in the corner booth. He didn't look like a global celebrity. There was no entourage, no flashy jewelry, no air of superiority. Just a man sitting quietly, minding his own business. "Are you sure?" Lily asked skeptically. Karen nodded emphatically. "I'd bet my paycheck on it." "What's he doing here, though?" "This is the last place I'd expect to see someone like him." Lily shrugged, unsure of what to make of it. "Well, I guess I'll find out soon enough." She returned to his table with a glass of water, setting it down gently. "Are you ready to order, or do you need more time?" "I'll have the turkey club sandwich," Neymar said, handing her the menu with a smile. "Thank you." "Coming right up," Lily replied, scribbling down his order. As she walked back to the kitchen, she couldn't help but steal another glance at him. He seemed so ordinary, so unlike the image of a world-famous athlete. Yet there was something about his presence that intrigued her, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. The rest of the lunch rush passed in a blur, with Lily darting between tables and balancing trays of food. Neymar remained in his corner booth, quietly eating his sandwich and occasionally glancing out the window. He didn't demand attention or special treatment, and for that, Lily was grateful. By the time he finished his meal, Lily was busy clearing a table nearby. Neymar stood up and approached the register, pulling out his wallet. He paid for his meal in cash, leaving a small stack of bills on the counter. "Thank you," he said, meeting Lily's eyes briefly before walking toward the door. Lily nodded, her mind preoccupied with the other customers demanding her attention. It wasn't until the rush died down that she finally noticed the note tucked under the stack of cash. Unfolding the paper, her eyes widened as she read the words, "For you and your son. Never stop believing in yourself." Her heart pounded as she stared at the stack of bills, realizing that it was far more than the cost of his meal. She quickly counted it, $2,000. Lily's hands trembled as she held the money and the note. Her breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, the noisy diner faded into the background. $2,000. It was more money than she made in 2 months at the diner. Her mind raced, trying to process what had just happened. Neymar, the quiet man in the corner booth, had left this for her and Ethan. Karen noticed Lily standing frozen near the counter and hurried over, her eyes widening when she saw the money. "Oh my God, Lily," she whispered. "Is that what I think it is?" Lily nodded slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's $2,000. And this note," she handed the piece of paper to Karen, who read it quickly. "For you and your son. Never stop believing in yourself," Karen recited, her voice filled with awe. She looked up at Lily, her expression a mix of disbelief and excitement. "Lily, this is incredible. I told you that was Neymar. I can't believe he just, wow." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes, and she quickly wiped them away, embarrassed. "I don't even know what to say. I didn't do anything to deserve this." "Of course, you did," Karen said firmly, placing a hand on Lily's shoulder. "You're one of the hardest working people I know." And clearly, he saw that too. "This is a gift, Lily. You don't have to explain it or justify it. Just accept it." Lily nodded, her emotions threatening to overwhelm her. I don't even know how to thank him. He's already gone." Karen smiled softly. "Sometimes the best way to thank someone is to use their gift to make your life better. That's all he'd want, I'm sure." The rest of the shift passed in a daze for Lily. She couldn't stop thinking about Neymar's generosity and what it meant for her and Ethan. She replayed the moment over and over in her mind, the quiet way he had left the money, the kind words in the note, the unassuming way he had carried himself. It was as if he had seen her struggles without her saying a word. When her shift finally ended, Lily gathered her things and left the diner, the note and money carefully tucked into her purse. The evening air was crisp and cool as she walked to Ethan's school to pick him up. Her heart felt lighter with every step, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel something she hadn't dared to in a long time: hope. Ethan came bounding out of the school gates, his face lighting up when he saw her. "Mom! Guess what? I got an A on my spelling test." "That's amazing, sweetheart," Lily said, kneeling down to hug him. "I'm so proud of you." Ethan grinned, his excitement bubbling over. "Do you think we could get ice cream to celebrate?" Lily hesitated for a moment, her practical side reminding her of all the bills she needed to pay. But then she thought of Neymar's note and the words he had written. "Never stop believing in yourself." She smiled and took Ethan's hand. "You know what? I think we can." They stopped at a small ice cream shop on the way home, and Ethan's eyes widened as he stared at the colorful display of flavors. "Can I get 2 scoops, Mom? Please?" "2 scoops it is," Lily said, laughing as she placed their order. They sat at a little table by the window, Ethan happily licking his cone while Lily sipped on a small cup of vanilla. For the first time in what felt like forever, she allowed herself to relax and enjoy the moment. "Mom," Ethan said suddenly, his voice serious. "You look happy today." Lily looked at him, her heart swelling with love. "I am happy, sweetheart. Someone did something very kind for us today, and it reminded me that things can get better." Ethan tilted his head, his expression curious. "What kind of kind thing?" "Well," Lily said, choosing her words carefully, "a very nice man left us a gift. It's going to help us with a lot of things we need." Ethan's eyes widened. "Like a superhero?" Lily smiled. "Yeah, kind of like a superhero." Ethan nodded thoughtfully, then took another big bite of his ice cream. "I hope we get to meet him again. I want to say thank you." "Me too," Lily said softly, her mind drifting back to Neymar and the note he had left. She hoped he knew just how much his gesture had meant to her. That evening, after Ethan was in bed, Lily sat down at the kitchen table with the money and the bills she had been avoiding for weeks. One by one, she sorted through them, dividing the money carefully to cover the most urgent expenses. Rent, utilities, groceries, everything fell into place, and for the first time in years, she felt like she could breathe. She held the remaining cash in her hand, thinking about what to do with it. There wasn't much left, but it was enough to buy a few things Ethan needed: new shoes, a proper winter coat, maybe even some art supplies for his drawings. She smiled at the thought of surprising him, imagining the look on his face when he saw the gifts. As she tucked the money and the note safely into a drawer, Lily felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. Neymar's kindness had done more than just pay the bills, it had reminded her of her own strength and resilience. She wasn't alone in this fight, and that realization gave her the courage to keep moving forward. The next day, Lily woke up early, feeling more energized than she had in a long time. She made pancakes for breakfast, much to Ethan's delight, and walked him to school with a spring in her step. The city felt different, brighter somehow, as if the weight that had been pressing down on her had finally lifted. After dropping Ethan off, Lily headed to the store to pick up a few things. She bought a pair of sturdy sneakers for Ethan, a warm winter coat, and a small set of colored pencils and sketchbooks. As she placed the items in her cart, she felt a sense of joy she hadn't experienced in years. It wasn't just about the things she was buying, it was about the fact that she could finally give Ethan something more than just the bare essentials. When Ethan came home from school that afternoon, his face lit up as he saw the surprises waiting for him on the kitchen table. "Mom! Is this for me?" he asked, his voice filled with excitement. "It sure is," Lily said, smiling as she watched him inspect the gifts. "You deserve it, sweetheart." Ethan hugged her tightly, his small arms wrapping around her waist. You're the best, Mom. Lily blinked back tears, her heart swelling with love. No, you're the best. That evening, as Ethan sat cross-legged on the living room floor, sketching superheroes with his new colored pencils, Lily sat at the small dining table, her hands resting on the edge of her cup of tea. The warmth of the ceramic mug seeped into her fingers as she watched her son's joyful focus. His laughter and small hums of satisfaction filled the room, replacing the silence that had once been so heavy in their tiny apartment. Ethan glanced up at her with wide, curious eyes. Mom, why are you smiling so much today? Lily blinked, startled out of her thoughts. She hadn't even realized she was smiling. I don't know, sweetheart, she said, her voice soft. I just feel lucky. Ethan tilted his head, his pencil pausing mid-stroke. Is it because of the superhero who helped us? Lily's chest tightened, the memory of Neymar's gesture washing over her once again. Yeah, I think it is, she admitted. But it's more than that. It's because you're here with me, and we're okay. That's something to smile about. Ethan grinned and went back to his drawing, his small hands working diligently to create the perfect cape for his superhero. Lily sipped her tea, her mind wandering to all the ways Neymar's kindness had changed their lives in just a matter of days. The bills were paid, the apartment was warm, and there was food in the fridge. But more than that, he had given her something she hadn't dared to hope for in years, faith in herself. The next morning, Lily woke up early, her alarm clock ringing out in the quiet apartment. She stretched and rubbed her eyes before heading to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. The light streaming through the window seemed brighter than usual, as if the world itself had shifted to match her newfound optimism. She made a mental list of all the things she wanted to accomplish that day, starting with a task she had been avoiding for years, looking for a better job. After dropping Ethan off at school, Lily sat down at her laptop with a deep breath. She opened a browser and typed "job opportunities near me" into the search bar. The results were overwhelming at first, a long list of positions that seemed either out of reach or completely unappealing. But as she scrolled, her eyes landed on a posting that caught her attention. It was for a customer service position at a small marketing firm, a 9-to-5 job with weekends off and a steady paycheck. The idea of having more predictable hours and a better work-life balance filled her with a cautious sense of hope. She clicked on the listing and read through the requirements. While she didn't have direct experience in marketing, her years at the diner had given her excellent communication and problem-solving skills. Lily spent the next hour carefully crafting her resume and cover letter. She highlighted her ability to handle stressful situations, her dedication to customer satisfaction, and her strong work ethic. When she finally hit submit, a wave of nervous excitement washed over her. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. For the first time in years, she was taking control of her future. Later that afternoon, after picking Ethan up from school, Lily decided to surprise him with a visit to the park. The crisp autumn air was invigorating, and the trees lining the park were ablaze with vibrant reds and oranges. Ethan ran ahead to the playground, his laughter echoing as he climbed the jungle gym and slid down the slide. Lily sat on a nearby bench, watching him with a smile. She felt lighter than she had in years, as if the burden she had been carrying for so long had finally begun to lift. She thought about Neymar again, wondering if he had any idea how much his generosity had meant to her. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the message behind it. His belief in her, a complete stranger, had sparked something inside her that she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. As Ethan played, a small group of kids joined him, their joyful shouts filling the air. Lily noticed a mother sitting on the bench next to her, keeping an eye on the children. The woman smiled and nodded at Lily, who returned the gesture. "Your son's got a lot of energy," the woman said, laughing as Ethan raced to the swings. "He does," Lily replied, smiling fondly. "He keeps me on my toes." The woman's expression softened. "It's nice to see him so happy. You're doing a great job." Lily felt a lump form in her throat at the unexpected compliment. "Thank you," she said quietly. "That means a lot." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Lily called Ethan over. He ran to her, his cheeks flushed and his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Can we come back tomorrow, Mom?" he asked, breathless. "Of course," Lily said, taking his hand. "We can come back as much as you want." That evening, after Ethan was asleep, Lily sat at the kitchen table once again. She pulled out a notebook and began writing down a list of goals, things she wanted to achieve for herself and for Ethan. She wrote about finding a better job, saving up for a larger apartment, and maybe even going back to school someday. Each goal felt daunting, but for the first time in years, they also felt possible. Her phone buzzed, pulling her attention away from the notebook. It was an email notification. She opened it and gasped as she read the message. It was from the marketing firm, inviting her to an interview. Her heart raced as she read the details, her mind already spinning with plans to prepare. The next day, Lily dropped Ethan off at school and headed to the thrift store to find a suitable outfit for the interview. She combed through the racks until she found a simple but professional blouse and a pair of slacks that fit her perfectly. As she tried them on in the fitting room, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. For the first time in a long time, she felt like someone who deserved a chance at a better life. On the day of the interview, Lily arrived at the marketing firm's office early, clutching a folder with her resume inside. The receptionist greeted her warmly and directed her to a small conference room where the interview would take place. Lily sat down, her nerves buzzing as she waited for the hiring manager to arrive. When the door opened, a middle-aged woman with a kind smile stepped inside and introduced herself. The interview began, and Lily did her best to answer each question with confidence. She spoke about her experience at the diner, emphasizing her ability to handle difficult situations and connect with people. At the end of the interview, the hiring manager leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. "Lily, I have to say, I'm impressed. You have a strong work ethic, and I can see how dedicated you are. I think you'd be a great fit here." Lily's heart soared, but she kept her composure. "Thank you so much. I would love the opportunity to contribute to your team." As she walked out of the office, she felt a wave of relief and pride wash over her. She had done her best, and now it was out of her hands. But no matter the outcome, she knew she had taken an important step toward building a better future for herself and Ethan. Lily walked home from the interview feeling a mix of nervousness and cautious optimism. The crisp air brushed against her face, and the sound of distant laughter from children playing in the park filled the streets. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was no longer trapped in a cycle of struggle. The possibility of a new job, combined with the weight lifted by Neymar's unexpected act of kindness, gave her a sense of momentum she hadn't felt in years. As she reached the apartment, she paused for a moment before heading inside. She looked at the building, its faded paint and worn exterior, and thought about the dreams she had quietly tucked away over the years. Dreams of moving to a bigger place, one with a small garden where Ethan could play, or maybe even one with enough space for a proper dining table where they could sit together for meals. Ethan greeted her as soon as she opened the door, running to her with his notebook in hand. "Mom, look what I drew," he said, holding up a colorful picture of a superhero flying over a city. Lily knelt down and inspected the drawing, her smile widening. "This is amazing, sweetheart. You're so talented." "Thanks. Do you think he's as strong as Neymar?" Ethan asked, his face serious. Lily chuckled, her heart warming at the mention of Neymar. "I think he might be, but Neymar has a superpower of his own. He has the power to make people feel hopeful." Ethan nodded thoughtfully before running back to his room to add more details to his drawing. Lily watched him go, her chest tightening with love and determination. She was doing all of this for him, and knowing that gave her the strength to keep pushing forward. The next morning, as Lily was walking Ethan to school, she received a phone call. She quickly answered, balancing the phone against her ear while holding Ethan's hand. "Hello, is this Lily Carter?" a friendly voice asked. "Yes, this is Lily," she replied, her heart pounding. "This is Michelle from the marketing firm. I just wanted to let you know that we were very impressed with your interview, and we'd like to offer you the position." "Congratulations." Lily stopped in her tracks, her free hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my goodness, thank you so much. I don't know what to say." "Just say you'll accept the offer," Michelle said with a laugh. "Yes, absolutely. I accept," Lily said, her voice shaking with emotion. "Great. We'll send over the paperwork and you can start on Monday. We're excited to have you on the team." Lily thanked her again before hanging up, her hands trembling as she lowered the phone. She turned to Ethan, who was looking up at her with curious eyes. "What happened, Mom?" he asked. Lily knelt down to his level, her smile so wide it felt like her cheeks might burst. "Mommy got a new job, sweetheart. A really good one." Ethan's face lit up with excitement. "Really? Does that mean we can get more pancakes?" Lily laughed, pulling him into a hug. "Yes, it does. And it means a lot more than that. Things are going to get so much better for us." As she walked him the rest of the way to school, Lily felt like she was floating. The weight that had pressed down on her for so long was finally beginning to lift. She was proud of herself for taking the steps to improve their lives, but she also couldn't help but think about Neymar. His kindness had set everything in motion, and she wished there was a way to let him know just how much it had meant to her. That evening, after dinner, Lily sat down with Ethan and told him about her new job. She explained that it meant she wouldn't be working at the diner anymore, but she would still have plenty of time to spend with him. Ethan listened intently, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Does this mean we can move to a bigger apartment?" he asked, his voice hopeful. "Maybe someday," Lily said, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "But for now, it means we won't have to worry as much. We'll be okay, Ethan. I promise." Ethan smiled and hugged her tightly. "I knew you could do it, Mom. You're my superhero." Lily's eyes filled with tears as she held him close. "No, buddy. You're mine." Over the next few weeks, Lily settled into her new job. The work was challenging but rewarding, and her coworkers were supportive and kind. She found herself looking forward to each day, something she hadn't experienced in years. She was learning new skills, meeting new people, and feeling a sense of accomplishment she hadn't known she was capable of. Ethan thrived as well. With the extra income, Lily was able to enroll him in an after-school art program, where he could nurture his love for drawing. He came home every day with new sketches, proudly showing them to Lily and talking about the friends he had made. One afternoon, as Lily was tidying up the apartment, she found Neymar's note tucked away in the drawer where she had kept it. She sat down at the table and read it again, her fingers tracing the neat handwriting. "For you and your son. Never stop believing in yourself." Tears filled her eyes as she thought about how far she had come since that day in the diner. She had paid the bills, bought Ethan new shoes and art supplies, and found a new job that gave her hope for the future. Neymar's act of kindness had been the spark that ignited a series of changes in her life, and she would never forget it. She pulled out a blank sheet of paper and began writing a letter. She didn't know if Neymar would ever see it, but she needed to put her gratitude into words. She wrote about the struggles she had faced, the weight of being a single mom, and how his generosity had changed everything. She thanked him for believing in her and for reminding her that there was always hope, even in the darkest times. When she finished, she folded the letter carefully and placed it in an envelope. She didn't have an address to send it to, but that didn't matter. Just writing it had filled her with a sense of peace. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Lily and Ethan continued to thrive. Their lives weren't perfect, but they were filled with moments of joy, laughter, and love. And through it all, Lily carried Neymar's note with her as a reminder of the power of kindness and the strength she had found within herself.